This morning I wanted to talk about and offer my response to what I heard on the radio yesterday morning. And that was, you know, healthcare. From the sounds of it, we are in a deeper crisis, and the the level of frustration is mounting, and journal associations and medical associations are pointing fingers at politicians, and politicians, I think, haven't responded adequately yet. I think they need to point back at the journals and the medical associations, because they'd be correct that this happened to your profession on your watch. But that wouldn't really be very helpful. The crisis is a crisis of two things: lack of vision and a lack of leadership. We don't have a funding issue with proper vision and proper leadership. Money will be there. We don't have a staffing issue with the vision and the leadership. The resource will be there. We're not lacking gurneys and hospital beds. With vision and leadership, those will exist. We have a crisis of the times that has focused for so long on the wrong stuff, the wrong metrics, the wrong reasons, the wrong ambitions, and now we need to change our course. The solution is to turn to, well, visionaries and leaders, quite frankly. Where do you find these people? Well, the Canadian military, for one. I know a man, I work with a man, in fact. He's retired from the Canadian military, but he would often tell me how during the Gulf War and through his career, some of his accomplishments, the one he spoke a lot about was updating the maintenance protocols for the F-16, and he'd show us with his hands how big the stack was, so many feet off the ground, and he'd motion that we turned it down into this, we got it simpler and better in only 16 months. For such a complicated machine, how to take care of it in that short period of time. And I know the healthcare industry has been trying for years to implement the the teachings of Deming and Duran and Crosby, the three main quality titans and pillars of that field. How do you measure something? How do you achieve your results? How do you really, run your business with purpose and achieve the results you're actually trying to reach? Well, those three put some thoughts to it. And especially for Deming, for instance, this was 1950s or so, that North America didn't want to hear what he had to say. He went to Japan. And he's definitely a factor for the success of Japan's manufacturing sector, especially in automotives. And when the pain became great enough, finally North American car manufacturers started to invite this little guy back to speak, and he was tough. And there's a story that he was giving a lecture to one of the North American manufacturers, and the CEO is at the lectern introducing this esteemed presenter. I want you all to listen to him, to the engineers and the senior executives and all in his company. I want you all to hear what he has to say. I'm the boss, and I want you all to listen. He's coming to us he's North American, he's American, but he's spent a lot of time in Japan, and he's going to tell you some important stuff. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Edward Deming. And of course everyone claps, and the CEO is walking this way, and Ted is supposed to come right here to the lectern and address the audience. But Ted sees the CEO, and his intent is just to kind of walk off stage and my job's done, maybe get on a plane and leave. So this is what happens. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ted Deming. Applause. Ted follows him, and the CEO turns around. He's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, sir, if you're not interested in hearing what I have to say, I'm not interested in saying it. Take a seat." Okay. And the CEO took a seat in the audience, and then he began his lecture. It didn't really have the same effect as it did in Japan. Our culture is different. The books could be written about why that was. We just didn't need to improve as much, maybe. We just weren't ready for that big of a change. That's an example from the manufacturing sector. Japan got it. They really needed to improve. Things were that bad after 1945. And they made big changes quickly to get better. North America, we haven't had to do that. I think we need to do that in healthcare. I think that's the industry that is really going to propel us, Canada, into much better standards and ethics and a way of doing business, because we have to. We will figure it out when the pain becomes great enough, as they say. And I think we're reaching the tipping point. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell that's worth reading. Because right now we're in the laming and blaming stage where we're blaming everybody else for the problem, and that's laming our efforts to actually see what the real problem is and how to move forward. What I think each politician, leader, minister of health, we like to play party politics, don't we? When it's, well, it's not my fault. So and so was here first. It's not my fault. Yeah, well, it's your problem. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. You're in charge now. That makes it your problem. Show some leadership. And I'll model this for you. This is what they need to do. They need to stand up. I'll do that for you. You need to stand up. Right? And say, hey, I'm the Minister of Health for Alberta, Canada, Newfoundland, Quebec, Ontario, whomever. This healthcare crisis, right? I'm not going to get into the reasons. They're complicated. I'm not going to get into party politics, right? The truth of the matter is, this crisis is happening on my watch. And that means something to me. I'm in charge of health for my province, for my country. And this is not acceptable anymore. Here's my vision, right? This is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to be meeting with these leaders of the community. I'm going to be reaching across to these leaders in other industries. I'm going to ask them these questions. And we're going to get to the bottom of this, because we are burning out our nurses, our orderlies, our doctors, everybody. This is a legitimate crisis. But it's my crisis. Because I'm the boss. I'm in charge right now. Thank you. No more questions. And they leave. Now, could you imagine the comfort people would feel if that's what they started to hear from the representatives? Good. Yeah, I have my books waiting off to the side here to show you the proof of I know what I'm talking about, but I don't need to do that. I know what I'm talking about. This is, as I say that, this is I think this is what Ted Deming looked like. I don't have a picture of Crosby, but I think that's Edward Deming, and I think that's Duran. Not sure Crosby, but there's the picture for you. You don't need too many books on this subject. You really don't. Usually one or two that's all you need. And if you're struggling, just go back and read it again. Where we're at in the quality industry, quality is really easy to do. Well, in general, just focus on quality. But what I mean is, say in manufacturing, right? That's where it was really developed. Especially, 150 or more years ago, when the telegraph was coming in. Because here's a time that we need to produce a lot of things, but now these are electronic things. So the tolerances, the standards of that production process needs to be even more stringent. So that was the beginning in North America of our quality journey, and now we have associations and industry that developed from it. We have, the uh, quality institutes and manufacturing institutes to dedicate their lives to working on and improving this component of society. How do you measure something, right? How do you know that you're getting the product, you're fabricating the product that your customer has asked for, right? How do you reduce the rejection rate of from their clients, but also the failure rate of your processes? How many welds are you throwing out, pieces are you throwing out because you didn't weld them properly? How many tubes or pipes are you sending back to your supplier because the ovality of that pipe wasn't accurate? How much time are you and money are you spending on trying to fix and tweak the errors from your suppliers when their product doesn't conform? The statistics and the sampling. Sampling theory, do you need to inspect every product that came in, or do you need to inspect a sample to get an understanding of what the accuracy these components are to the standards that you needed? We have that for manufacturing. That's fairly easy to do because you have tools, like real tools, a ruler, a weigh scale, things that you can pick up and hold in your hands to help you understand if this other thing, this product you're holding in your hands, is actually at the standard you need it to be. That's in manufacturing. When it comes to the service industry, like healthcare, it's been more difficult to take what we know from manufacturing and then apply it to services. It can be done. It has done. We're not quite at a place where it's easy to do like it is in manufacturing. And ironically, it was, where I come from the birthplace of universal health care. And the irony is, who do you think opposed the implementation, when we needed to pass laws to have universal health care? What group of people do you think was resisting universal health care? Yeah, the doctors. Now, when it comes to implementing policies and standards in the healthcare industry, because we know one of the biggest issues in the healthcare industry, in hospitals, it's prevalent, is just the spread of disease among other patients, right? Patients are getting sick because they're close to other patients, and that's significant. What's the best way to prevent the spread of diseases? Wash your hands. What group of people do you think are resistant to that rule? These strong-minded, highly successful people, because it's such a little thing. Why do I have to do it? And really, you want me to wash my hands 100 times a day between each patient? But I'm really busy. Why can't I just cut that out? Yeah, you do. So there's people will use shortcuts. They'll use, the hand sanitizer instead of hand washing. No shortcuts. A little example that right now I would say the Canadian Medical Association needs to, and each provincial body can stand up and say, we think we're part of the problem, and here's some leadership, right? Because we license and we govern our profession. We are resistant to change. We do hold back progress a little bit, and we're sorry for that. We're going to do better. We need to change as a group of individuals. Oh, but why would they say that? They say it because someone needs to start. Say it first. Someone needs to model that behavior. It also allows the politicians to learn from them. Say, well, if they can do it, and it's safe for them to stand up and say, we need to change, my group needs to change, maybe it's going to be safe for me to do it too. And of course, the first politician, it'll likely be at the provincial level, it won't be at the federal level, but you never know. First politician to do this gets the biggest rewards. So there's motivation to say, wait a minute, this is totally my problem because it happened, because this is happening on my watch. Here's how I'm going to fix it. Here's my vision. We need that. We need that vision and a return to leadership. Cut out the name calling. This isn't the schoolyard anymore. This is the real world where real things are happening, and we have adult consequences now with our pettiness. And I'd recommend that these provincial health ministers seriously call in the army, declare a state of emergency if you have to, call in the army, give them the keys to your issue. Now you're still in charge, you're still a health minister, but you're doing the scariest and most wise thing of your career, and it'll make all the difference. Because you're bringing in the experts and say, hey, you're not going anywhere. And you're talking to the colonels, and you're saying, you can fix this really quick. You understand process and systems. Don't leave until you've retooled my healthcare system and processes at the provincial level. Just like you guys know how to do with the F-16s, do it for me. You have the leadership, you have the communication abilities. Everyone will listen to you. You're the army, and frankly, we're hurting, and everybody knows it. But we don't have the skills as civilians to solve problems this big and this complicated. You guys do. How long would that take to fix things with leadership like that? I think it would come quickly. Because now you have the right people, the right communication skills, the right leadership, Canadian military, right? They've seen it all, done it all. And now you have civilians saying, teach us your processes. Teach us what works everywhere else in the world. Teach us what you teach other countries when you're doing your humanitarian. Set up our processes for us because they're broken right now. That's my response. I know funding's not the issue. We have enough money. It's just we're wasting so much money on broken processes, on squabbling, on stress, on blaming, on avoidance, on absenteeism, on burnout of employees, of training employees, of just talking about these issues. We have enough money. We're just not using it very effectively. All for now.